upon it, like Bose-Einstein condensate does, because it's at a spring constant instead of a closed loop. So what happened is that because it's taking on the analog of the hydraulic system, right? Like, because the field antenna dictates the field. So if the atoms are actually fields, then it's dictating the atoms' motion and perturbation or waves that it's creating. So what he said was what happened was at the bottom of the bulb, it blew out, and this huge force came from this light bulb. So he started playing around with it. So he figured out that the bulb was swirling around, oscillating, right? Because of this force. And then he did it with flat plates here, and it would swirl around, right? Now, and I think actually this is a lot to do with Alexei's type of craft. I believe that Alexei was using the one wire circuit. He just wasn't telling anyone. Because I'll show you another cool one here. Where is that? Oh, nothing's in the proper thing to show me if it's where's the image files? Tesla, what's this one? No, that's not it. Oh yeah, that book. I also have that book in here that he's reading. It's also in this drive. Where is the one I am looking for? Oh, here's one. So this, and we're getting a little off topic, but not. This is a guy who replicated all Tesla's stuff so you could replicate it. See? Totally different guy. Doing everything Tesla did. And this is from 1914. This was 1913. And this is a great, if this book could be on your desk or on your table while you're working on stuff, this would teach you a lot. But anyways, yeah, this is all Tesla stuff that this guy repeated and showed how to make. Okay.
Could you send me a copy of that?
You should have access to the drive.
Yeah, this is all Terran Earthling's Google Drive that all of this information's in. So yeah, it's like the biggest database ever. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, much appreciated. 12 years straight in like a trance type form where I call it going with the flow of the universe, right? Because space is moving. And I realized that like I go into these states where it would just come to me. And not only that, like when I was with Jeremiah, talking to him all the time, like I used to talk to him for years. We talked every day. And like, I would just get this stuff and present it to him. He's just like, well, that's what I'm working on. I'm like, okay. Those type of things would happen all the time. Right. But anyways, so let's see here. Where was I getting at? So the one wire system, actually, you know what? I'll do the true wireless one because that is going to explain how the analog works. So here's the closed loop system and how the analog system works within that field antenna. Because every circuit is practically a field antenna alternator.
I like that.
So realistically, it is. That's how like even like if everyone thinks, oh yeah, everything's safe, my computer, blah blah blah. No, nothing is safe because anything can be picked up by a field antenna and read, especially when it comes to RAM, because then RAM can be read as well. So here he is with the one wire circuit. So how he explains it is that, like I said, it goes from the ground into the armature through a friction device, which is the filament, right, to create light, and hits a capacity, bounces back into the friction device and back into the alternator and back into the ground. So if you were using, say this light, sorry, let's go back up here. So if this light beams out and hits you and acts as a capacitance, it'd beam back into the system. This capacity would shove it down and back into the ground. Whereas in a closed loop light system, the beam of light would hit you, drag into the ground, and try to reach this ground from wherever it is hits you from, and go back into the alternator. So it's going to go through your entire body instead of you acting as a capacitor and bouncing off of you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is the difference between X-rays in a closed loop and then the X-rays in an open loop. And that picture I showed you before of the Tesla light bulb, all it is the Tesla coil with an evacuated bulb on the top, or the pancake coil one, right? It's pancake coil system. If you create an evacuated bulb on the top of that antenna, it would act as the filament. And whatever else is out there would act as capacity and bounce back in. That's why sometimes he has a flat plate in some of his stuff. Okay, so let's get back.
We got Sean inspired here.
All right, so let's see. One wire. I got the system, electrostatic force. What's this one? Okay, so this is his writings. Yeah, so this is hundreds of pages of his writings from his alternator right to the one wire system, to one wire light bulbs and on. Like, it's actually very good. Where is? I want to show you the one wire solenoid coil. It is the most fascinating thing ever, and I think that is what's happening with the Cherkov device.
Well, coil me intrigued.
That's it, right there. Let's see if I can blow that up for you guys. All right.
Is it transformer?
I'll just shrink it down just a little bit more. Oh, son of a gun. Oh. Okay, guess not. All right. So in his transformer, so this isn't quite the one wire circuit because he transformed. So what he did, actually, if you go on to Tesla Tech, there's a bunch of guys on there that explain in detail how he actually created systems. And this transformer is a coil, two coil. Actually, I really can't explain it because I don't want to mess it up. But anyways, so this is his one wire system coming out, and he's wrapping around the coil, and then he has a suspended plate. So you could do this with his one wire circuit that he uses for radiant energy or transmitting signals. So if you took it right off that and you wrapped it around this coil on an iron core and had a plate, you would see this disc would rotate, right? But if you turn the disc the other way, wouldn't it push the disc? So I think that on the arms of the Graviflyer, where the bolts are, I think he wrapped coils, like just one wire wrapped around each bottom and end, like the Rhoda system, right? So let's go to Rhoda real quick here. Okay, EHD, Rhoda. Was that an MHD? Shouldn't be an MHD. It is an MHD. Why would it be an MHD? Okay, sorry. Don't mean to chirp to myself here. MHD. Rhoda.
That's just thinking out loud.
Yeah, all right. So, okay. So this right here, I have the patent for it, but you can't get it from the patent office. And it's in Italian. So we need someone like Jack Serfati to translate it. So anyway.
Hear that, Jack? We need you, Jack.
We need you, Jack.
If he's done bitching yet.
Jack and the giant.
Jack, you're our only hope. Anyways, so in here you see in the actual Italian patent, it is the exact thing that is inside that article, whereas the French one is a little different. Help me, Jack Safardi. You're our only hope.
Oh, that one Twitter redo, like meme video was just so good. Sorry.
No worries. All right. So here's the French one. Okay. So what he claimed is that the middle's negative and the top and bottom are positive. So what he was doing was exactly kind of like Thomas Townsend Brown, except that he didn't have the coiled solenoid antennas. And I believe these are acting as like a pinch. What does they call it? Flux pinning? Yeah, something like that. I believe these are acting like a flux pin. So what happens is that he could accelerate one direction by turning off one of these negatives, right? Or he'd stay stationary. So if you wanted the craft to stay stationary, you'd activate it all in the sky. And then if you wanted to go up, you turn this. You turned the top one off because it was negative, and this middle one was positive. And you go in upward direction. And then, vice versa. You flick it off, and then you go downward direction. And he claimed that this thing would stay put even at, what do you say it was? I think he said 19 kilometers per second, which is faster than the acceleration you need to get in outer space. Right? 18 kilometers a second, I believe, is the speed you need to go in outer space. So you literally eliminate that entire drag with the system from 1910. So he has a battery on board. You can see, like literally go through Rhoda if you get the chance. But if you think about it, the Grav Flyer, if it had these coils here and here on the sides, it could probably, I said it before. Was it flux pinning? Yeah, flux pinning. It could probably flux pin it, right? So, anyways, that was the idea. I believe that's one part that's missing. And not only that, I saw one of his old videos, and he was talking about how he pitted the disc just like how John Hutchison did with his radiant energy hemisphere made out of copper. He said he pitted it. He called it pickling it. He pickled it, which probably could just mean that he added pickling salts to it, right? But it pitted it so that it created these, spots for cavitation, right? In order to create cavitating fuel out of the atmosphere.
Interesting.
Because actually in induction launchers, I have this video. I'm going to actually be copying it all onto the drive, but it's an MIT videos on field engineering from the late 80s. And the guy was doing the induction launcher, right? So like the ring launcher. And he said he charged up a bunch of these capacitors, which is like electrostatic lift, and they stay in one spot, right? Then all of a sudden they dump the whole thing into the induction launcher. And what happens is, let's say the craft launched itself into the air. But what a lot of people don't realize is that exact same system is used for magnetic braking. So they just leave the system on, and now the boundary layer is being pushed away from the craft by magnetic braking as it's being launched into space. So if you electrostatically float, charged your capacitors because you're up so many field lines, and you create, like, say, a beam of light from the ground to the ionosphere, you have a circuit. And then you collected all that charge, then dumped it into your induction launching coil, launch yourself, and leave that coil on so that you were literally magnetically braking as you were launched into the air. That's what I believe is how the old style stuff worked. And the reason why I believe that is, was it you? Yes, it was the G engine guy. So let's go to G engines. Also dug up all the other stuff, like even some of the. So yeah, here's the magnetic braking system. So the armature is stationary. This is obviously the coil, and that's the magnetic braking system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an induction launcher, a plate would be across here. Now, remember how I explained to you how the lens forces change when you have a curve?
Yep.
So if you created, say, like a trumpet coil, right? Like instead of a pancake coil or a hemisphere, you create like a trumpet coil, right? Like, it's all inward.
Yep.
The exact opposite of the top. If you had that and you had a curved plate on the top, what would happen is the maximum lens force would for launching would happen in here. Right? And then on the top of the disc, what would happen is that the magnetic field would act upon it, but it have less lens force on the top. This creates the differential to have a force in one direction.
Yeah, but it only works if you curve the sides of the center plate.
It only works if you curve the disc to remove the lens force.
So that's what we all don't want to see, but it's right there in front of us when you look at his gravity flyer.
Well, I think he went wrong when he went flat. I think that's why it's a struggle for that thing to lift off.
So much easier when
that's just a belief, though. I don't know if that's a fact.
Well, you could take a positive in the center of say you build it into a lifter, right? Put the center, your positive wire, use earth ground as a bottom and it'll lift.
So as you see, the G engines are coming as good old Mark said, or what's it, Mark? What's his name again? Michael Schratt. Thanks to him, I actually found this. And I actually found out eventually, digging enough, that this guy actually made a video in England of this working. So it's actually somewhere in some, I don't know, archive somewhere. There is an old black and white video of this working.
And what's this called?
This is the G engine stuff. So this is 1956.
The G engine. Okay. Yeah. You had the full article. That's interesting.
So he shows the induction ring launcher right here. But I don't know if you've noticed. I don't know if this goes back inside and goes through, or this is acting just like something like Sean's coils working. But anyways, he was talking about making the craft like a giant induction launcher. So there's the induction launcher there, and that's what keeps this thing lifting. So like literally, he's probably just pulsing it, right? Just pop, 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 so it stays in one spot. Because if you leave it on, it'll just fall back down to the ground. But not only that, it'll create a magnetic braking system around it.
That's interesting.
So like if you were able to charge up enough energy into it, you would launch the craft, but then it would create, like I explained, like I showed you before, magnetic braking, right? Which creates the plasma sheath around. You see there's the bow shock, and it's creating that plasma sheath right here around the craft. Like I'm just taking it back to the days because like some of the stuff, like I still have to share with Jeremy because Jeremy Reese is the one that got me.
Absolutely.
Seriously, like I was going right into permaculture, old school tech. That's where I was going before Jeremy like talked me into coming in and doing this. Like I learned how to like literally live off the land and start right from beginning. You know what I mean? Like right from extracting
from the ground up.
Rock. Like, you know what I mean? Turn rocks. Actually, here's one of my favorite quotes from Star Trek: "Turn rocks into replicators." Like, I was literally getting to that point, and Jeremy's like, "Oh, come on, we need you." So I'm like, "All right." So I'll share my database, and then this is my database, of course. And I did a bunch of research as I was going through the 8 years, but mainly it all happened during Jeremy's time. So anyway, here I have all of Schumann's stuff. So a lot of people don't realize that Schumann, Wilfred Otto Schumann, he was given a job by the United States Navy during World War II for the rotating plasma guy. And I've shared to you guys before that the Earth, like as I posted all the time in the chat, that the Earth acts as a cavity wave. And the magnetic constants match the brainwave patterns of a human. So anything within this field, say like if you create a bubble, like a bubble field, like a giant EVO, right? Everyone's like, oh, it acts sentient. Well, it matches the brainwave patterns of humans. Of course, it's in a sense sentient. Like it could be the Earth itself. You know what I mean? Like the Earth's actual brainwave. But regardless, I have all this stuff here. A lot of documents. I got his equations. A lot of stuff actually I got from this one guy that was doing rotating plasmas in China before everything went dark, before the wars. Okay, so we were going to Rhoda. We went to him. All right, let's see what else we got floating around here. Anything you guys really want to cover really quickly? Okay, so Lapointe, as everyone has seen before, he created the premier fields. Did everyone see that?
David Lapointe, the primer field?
Yeah, David Lapointe. Yeah, he created premier fields and controlling and shaping of ionic flow.
Yeah,
that was his patent, right? Like his magnetic array is all about. Here, I'll go to the magnetic array patent. Right, it's all about controlling ionic flow. See, oriented ionic flow.
Coherent.
Nice.
Right, because it's ions in motion being controlled by magnetism. This is in essence is practically a magnetodielectric, but it isn't because it's not creating the magnetic field, right? Because ionic flow can create magnetism. This is shown by free electron lasers, where free electron lasers will create multiple Tesla fields, which I also have all the papers on.
This is the same shape that we have to use to get larger objects to levitate with acoustics.
Well, if you remember I hate to drop the name, but you remember Ken Wheeler stated that the only way you can get anti-gravity is by creating a geometric field around the craft. So if you were to create those starship coils and you bold them, you'd be able to create a field outside of it that would take on that geometry because it's going to follow it, right? It's a field antenna. It's going to follow the flow, right? Because you're going to create the circuit that creates the flow.
Right.
Like an old man Bills gets it because he understands like how they act like that, right? It's like a pressure thing. It's like hydraulics almost. It's like taking it in and it's changing pressure. It's a pump. You know what I mean? Like and the coolest thing is actually, which I'm going to teach you guys tonight, is that actually I'm going to show you right now. Why not? So I'm going to show you the electrostatic printer created by NASA. And it doesn't have to be in the waitlist with space. All right. NASA. Got a lot of good stuff from NASA, actually. Oh, and NASA, I have the 1950s stuff from Disney. Did any of you guys see that yet?
NASA did what now?
So NASA worked with Disney in the 50s with Wernher von Braun, and he talks about electromagnetic field propulsion craft, which look identical to flying saucers.
Yes, I remember
a cartoon video made by Disneyland.
Yeah, that one's
only shown in the park, probably briefly.
No, well, briefly, but it's in 3 videos. So like one goes, they explore space, they explore the moon, then they go to Mars.
Well, I'm saying it's probably not something that appeared on television or anything into a wider population. It was probably restricted just a limited group.
There were some videos from Wernher von Braun. So a lot of people don't believe in David Adair, but I do.
Hmm.
And David Adair said that he had a video from that he found in the archives when he worked at NASA that kind of just rolled out from nowhere, and he kind of just picked it up. He's like, "Can I have that?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, take it." So he took it home and looked at it, and he said that when they took moon dust and they spread it on corn, it turned into, like he said, it looked like something out of Aliens. He said that the corn was just huge, and like the veins in the roots looked like giant blood vessels coming out of this thing.
What?
And he's like, "This is the power of moon dust." I think that was I guess they never got to show it because the way they built the video was like for Disney, right? Where they're teaching kids. But anyways, let's go to the good old juicy stuff. Oh, I don't know if this is copywritten or fake. Did anyone see this?
Never see it.
I've never seen this.
So that's the backside of the moon. And by the way, that's the glow of helium-3.
What?
In case anyone didn't know that, that was a glow. That right there is a glow of helium-3.
Or a city. Probably helium.
Actually, if you looked at it properly, it was blown out the back. Hold on, let's see if I go. Let me see if I could skim to the right spot. Let's see if I can get to the spot where it looks like you can see the back of the moon and it looks like it's blown apart. And that's the inside of the moon.
What?
If there was, we would never know it. We don't see the dark side.
Yeah, this is before the moon landing, right? 1968. They claim. I don't know if this is fake. This could be fake.
Could be.
Could be fake. I always throw that out there. You never know, right?
Yeah, specifically the camera movement looks weird to me, but I don't know. You know, it will require some analysis.
Like if you're a guy in the panning around inside a small window, it kind of looks like that, but you don't know, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no,
if you look carefully, that almost looked like it was blown out. Yeah, see, look there. That looks like the back of the moon is blown right out.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's the inside of the moon.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah. It's like this dark, just black hole.
Like, could you imagine the scare? Everyone is just like, "Oh man, the moon's blown apart. It's gonna fall apart and crash on Earth." Well, it hasn't for billions of years, so I don't think so. Could be why it echoed like it did when they launched the vehicle and heard the ring.
I hate to interrupt, but I gotta take off there, Nathan.
Or maybe the moon itself opened up.
All right, Joe. Thank you.
You have a great one.
Yeah, catch up on some of this later, Gerald. I got a couple of things I got to share with you. Anyways, I want to share with you a bunch of the Thomas Townsend Brown electrics that he made, and I wanted to show you the side rail radiation batteries that could be made out of concrete, made out of the type of elements that we're talking about, and it's very plentiful.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Like what he did, the neatest thing he did was that he took like what had side rear radiation was the only things that have that is graphite. What was it? No, it was granite and what was the other one? Granite and basalt. They're the only two elements that that he found had side rear radiation. And how he did that was he took the rock up to electrodes. And he stuck it in inside a telescope, and then he pointed it, and he found the center of the galaxy. Because side radiation comes from the center of the galaxy, and those are the only two elements that he found that did that. But yeah, I'll talk with you that later. Okay, so here we go. I'll get to the other part. Where is that one? Was it here? I want to show you the microwave beaming to Earth. I just got to find it. Where's the video? Must be in this one. Yeah, all right. I found it. Should be in here somewhere. There it is. Hold on, I gotta. I'll be right back. I'll run this up.
All right. Infinity loop.
Huh. Old school graphics.
Yeah.
So this is used for the propulsion systems that beaming the energy to Earth. They ride that microwave beam around. And I believe they're steered by the different antenna systems like Tesla's, where it would follow the coil. So no matter what, it wouldn't lose it.
And we have engineers like Christopher Dunn talking about how the pyramids might have transmitted microwave energy. That's fascinating.
Oh, I have the microwave stuff. I have videos of it too.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to give this archive a once over.
Oh, yeah. You got to skim this. Like I keep telling you guys, all you guys, you got to download this and skim the shit out of it. Like, just skimming it would open your mind. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if you got videos, like I'm a sucker for anything moon related. Like if you got videos of the moon, I don't care if it's fake, I'll watch it. It's fascinating to me.
So you have to understand the universities in the United States did all this. And then what happened was it got silenced by the military. Why? Because they picked it up and made it.
Yeah. And they made it proprietary and hushed it up so nobody could infringe on their technology.
No, because they're not allowed to copyright anything. So what they did was they classified it. Yeah, so all the Lagrange points, guys, I'm telling you right now, they all have these there by the United States military.
Really?
100%. Oh, yeah. In order to control space, you control the high ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the only way in and out of Earth is through the moon's gravity well. Why do you think no one's been allowed on the moon?
That's a good point.
Sorry. conventional methods. All right, so yeah, that's that. Glad I got to run you through that. Thank God I'm on the line. I was doing wireless on the air and it just sucked. I kept glitching out and losing my signal.
Yeah.
All right, so plasma shields. So this is a plasma shield. So I talked to you guys before, actually in the chat, I was explaining how NASA made ion fields. And what they found was the iron crenellation spheres would hit the plasma field that they created and transmutate. So if in the center of the Earth is a plasmoid or plasmon, whatever. Anyways, if that's in the center and it's creating, say actually the moon's the best example, and that creates a field. If the sun is ejecting these particles and it hits it, it's going to transmutate into something like aluminum. Right? Because it has all these donators. And it's going to accept them and cling to them. Donators, acceptors, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And the only way they could get past this was by creating an electron cloud. Because when the iron hit it, it would just bounce off of it or sloop into it, depending on if it was tuned to it or not. And so this Rectenna system obviously takes in the waves from the light, turns it into energy, dumps it into these giant solenoid, and the electrons will follow the lines of force, the field, the magnetic field, right? Because they circulate. And this was what, and this electron gun would hit a Faraday cage craft and it'd bleed off the energy so it could dock. Which is why an induction launch would be perfect for bleeding off this kind of energy. This is inside the NASA document for space settlements. So they had the space settlement one here, were the O'Neill cylinders. That's what they called them. And I showed you guys in another one before this that, you know, how they had cylinders in space.
Mm-hmm.
Mirabeau worked with O'Neill to make the systems. Mirabeau took this system and made it into his craft. So yeah, this is I just clipped it out of the actual document, this document, because I clipped the documents even. So like I'll leave the actual full document, but I'll have a clip of the document of just, you know, what I'm focusing on in the folder. And they also have one for a lunar base, which I have the full document. I didn't clip this one, but it has the exact same type of solenoid protection. Right? So here it is right there. And this is what I believe we're seeing in that moon video. I believe they had a bunch of these already made. And if you see the old stuff from the 1950s, which shows all the flying saucer stuff, they were already coming up with these ideas in the 1915s. Like I said, I'm going to save this for Jeremy because I promised him I would. And so I can't show that off. But
all good, brother.
Yeah. I'll share it with Nate. I'll make sure when I do this with Bernie and Jeremy that you're part of it too, because I told you I would.
Well, a lot of this stuff sounds like stuff that we were talking about earlier today.
It is. That's why I'm always constantly trying to get on here, but no one's sending me invites.
I make sure when I see you.
All right. So this is a newer document where they use electrets for Lorentz actuated orbits. So what they do is they used electrets in order to stationary orbit stuff, and because Thomas Townsend Brown teaches with electrets, you can actually store the energy. So inside the two plates with the electret and the heavy metal particles in it. What you do is in the middle of the circuit, you add the energy, but you have to have it hooked up to the load. If you don't have it hooked up to the load, it will never hold the potential. So what he did was he gave the energy that it needed for the load, and then as soon as the thing cured and hardened or solidified, he would take the energy source off, and then it had permanent potential inside the electric with high K dielectrics and heavy metals. That's the secret. I'm spitting this stuff out so people can scribble it down and make it happen. All right. Anyways, so let's see here. Solid P. Okay. Oh, we already seen that one, I think. Which one's this one? Oh, this is MHD. Okay. This is using microwaves. Yeah. This is a wave rider. Okay. My bad. Freeform casting and molten metal, right? Okay. So I thought I don't know exactly why, but I thought that this one patent was I might have to go back here a bit. Let's see, let's go to here. I know I have it somewhere else here. Was it this one? No, let's stay at Dado. All right. I have it somewhere. Just give me a second here and I'll click it once I find it. I dumped a bunch of stuff in my folder and I shouldn't have, and now I have to skim through everything. There's the electric spacecraft journals. Okay, this cost me money because it's behind a paywall, but regardless, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these. Anyone?
No, what is that?
The electric spacecraft journals. So this was John Hutchison kept spitting this out because he was actually put in one of these journals. And he just like, you got to go check this out. You got to go check this out. So I did and found it behind a paywall. It cost me $300. But I have all the journals. And they have every single patent that you could think of for flying craft using field propulsion. So I guess I'll have to send you an invite to that sometime, maybe. I got all Eric Dollage stuff, most of it, I should say. I got like over $400 worth of that stuff. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Totally took me to school. Where is the stuff I had? Projects. Okay, that might be it. And where's the printers? Printers. Oh, this is old, by the way. This is when I was just figuring stuff out, so it's not all legit. Because it's a learning experience. You think you know all the answers, then you find out later you know nothing.
Yeah.
When the more you read, right? It's just like, what the heck? Anyways, there it is. Yeah, gravity printer. I think that might be it. Yeah, this is it right here. So I thought this was in the waitlist list of space. Oh, come here, double click. Okay, so I thought this was from the waitlist list of space. So, and from what I understand, it's not. So what this is an induction melter. Then you electrostatically charge the droplets that are coming out, and then you charge these plates here, and it hits this one over here and builds a standing sound wave of the object you're creating. So you see how the guy has the standing sound wave on the computer? You can see it's shooting out all these droplets and hitting it and 3D printing everything in a standing sound wave. But nowhere in the patent have I saw it where it said it had to be in space. So I think it can be made on Earth, even though this is made by NASA.
That's interesting.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to get Tom Anderson into, because if this does work on Earth, this is exactly what Tom Anderson wants to make his replicator. We can see he's using laser energy in order to help form and shape, and I'm assuming it's creating like a metallic glass type of effect. There's circuit boards, because obviously this doesn't have to be just metals.
Yeah.
Because it's electrostatics. The only thing that isn't electrostatics is the induction melter. So yeah, anyways, that's a fancy Dan. Let's go back to so let's see what I got in here. Okay, I got that. All right, this is old. Which this was like just before I talked to Jeremiah. And then Jeremiah took me to school.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. Yeah, I like this one. Cyanized boundary layer fluid pumping systems. So here's a fancy Dan that I talked with Jeremiah about, and he loved it. So as you can see here, there's sawtooth waves. Right?
Okay.
And this is actually discussed in the movies with Warner von Braun on how they were using sawtooth wave forms to send. What was it? They were ejecting cesium ions in order to get to Mars real quick, and they needed sawtooth waves in order to create the propulsion. Right. So here, as you can see, the Kawanda effect is taking place here. Right. He's taking it in and he's circling it around. That's the Kawanda effect.
Right.
And you can see these waveforms. So let's go back here. Yeah. So you can see here, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative, positive. So what he's doing is he's creating repulsion and attraction.
Yeah.
And you find this with a lot of electrostatic systems. In order to get a force in one direction, you have to have repulsion, then attraction.
Yeah, but you have to get to a stage where it's not exactly static electricity. It's kind of destructive to have that. You want charge.
Well, in my brain, I see expansion and contraction like buoyancy.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm just saying the state that the energy has to be in. If it's too much of a, how do I say this? Has too much charge in it, like too much static. It becomes destructive to the system, and you won't amplify it as well.
Oh, I never thought of that. That's fascinating.
Because it's using the energy for the static.
Yeah.
You want to be more like scalar so that you aren't using the energy yet. You know what I mean? Until you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because that gravity flare, it has that wave in the center. It absolutely has positive on top and negative on bottom, just like a sine wave. And you are playing with both fields, but one is a repulsion of the ground and the other is an attractive to the top. There's two different fields going on simultaneously at all times.
I didn't realize this right here, but he has a delta wane, but within delta on the inside of the wane. That is... Sorry, delta outside of the wane. But, I mean, that's fascinating right there, because delta systems, they can have EMP attacks attack them, right? Like if you learn from Eric Dollard, they're an antenna that won't allow in EMP. So by having delta and wane, you could use both of those systems like that. That's actually fascinating. I didn't realize that in this patent. I probably did, but I just don't remember. So I remember explaining to you guys before when I saw my giant flying saucer, and it swooped up on a 45-degree angle and created this lightning wave. And this is kind of what it looked like right here. And then it swooped into it and rode it, right? And then the back plates went invisible.
Yeah, but this is more like what a sine wave should look like. It's it's got the field around it because we know the energy doesn't travel in the wire; it travels on the outside. So this makes more sense.
If you ever watch the magnetohydrodynamics by Eric Lathwaite, where he had the 3-phase linear motor and he laid it out and made it linear, right? He cut the top of it and kind of like flattened it out, right? So if you were to create a tube of that wave, you could ride it, right? If you got inside of it.
Okay.
Now, if you were an flying antenna and you were able to have a radio somewhere else, you could send it to that location in that field, because it's just a packet of information now, to that location at signal speed. As long as it was like a diamagnetic material that could float in it and be anchored or pin fluxed into it, it should be able to just ride within that to another location at signal speed. Just like a linear motor, but it'd be like a non-linear motor. Be like an unwrapped non-linear motor, linear motor, because it'd be both. As odd as that sounds. But anyway, so here he explains, this one shows here, right? 2 negatives, so you have a repulsion, but you have the 2 positives, which is also a repulsion, but it's attracting that field, right? Attracting the particles or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, but when you push those 2 fields together, one of them will change into a temporary either negative or positive. It'll take it on once you force them together.
Yeah, I think they flip, don't they?
Yeah. So
the particle flips like we learned from Lapointe. You know, like you could take the ion and flip it from a positive to a negative. It just has to go through that one spot where the flip zone, the flip side.
But that's the whole key to the gravity flyer is that flip that there's 2 forces working, and then you force one down upon the other, and then it creates a bouncing effect.
You're twerking the fields.
So here's another fascinating thing I didn't actually realize is that this one right here is just a wire in a sense, but this one right here is a wire with picks, so it creates ions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's still negative and negative. So like, see, look at that, right? So negative here, but it's just a wire. But negative here, there's a point,
right, and
it goes over.
But I
didn't realize.
It matters where you position the point on the negative to the positive.
Let's go back to the waveforms.
There's a whole geometry going on there.
Yeah, because he has a square wave with, you see this square wave with the sawtooth. So you see the square wave generator here, pulse, the phase adjuster, which is the square which is the sawtooth, but he has it going in together, and this is what it creates. It creates the sawtooth.
Oh, wow,
square
that's
wave.
Cool.
Right, and you can see that here with his electrode system and his switches. I love old patents because it's all switches and stuff. Like it's old school. It teaches you the actual what the heck is going on.
Well, that's what Alexi's mimicking with the piezo disc. That spike right there, it's an amplification of the wave.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, but like that's also another great thing I've been trying to teach everyone is so everyone knows about the Coanda effect, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Coanda effect, in case people don't really understand, is literally it's the elasticity of a fluid, but in convection. So like here, this is the Coanda effect, right? So he's recirculating the effect, and not only that, he's able with this system to recirculate the ions. So he doesn't have to keep generating massive amounts of ions. He's saving his energy by recycling the ions. So this is a lot like a vortex ring, right? Like or a toroidal flow within a dielectric, not in a magnetic system or electromagnetic system.
I don't know that he's saving them, but he's multiplying them.
Yes, but he's also doesn't have to dump as many in, so he could turn the system either off or add power when he needs to add more ions to the flow. And a lot of actual, like I have a bunch of aerofoil Coanda stuff, but this is one of the best ones I've seen for the time. But anyways, let's go back down. So he has a bunch of different types of systems. So he even has a flying saucer type system, not just a plane. Okay. Oh shoot! Can't skip past that right away. Yeah. See, he has points here, and he has wires on the top there. So it looks like he can do all of them. Fascinating. This is really cool. I like going over old patents that I haven't seen for a while, because then it's like, oh yeah, oh awesome, you know,
right? Just such a great refresher, and then it adds like new connections that you haven't thought about since like your expanded knowledge of everything recently you've read.
Right. Oh, that's cool too. Like he looks like he has like points on the one end, but non-points on the other. So you actually do have a front to back of this vehicle. Oh, look, there's the hooks. I remember, and they. do you remember what's his name talking about that? Michael Schratt talking about these things hanging down.
Yeah, absolutely. In the
early hooks
60s, and that they'd see them by the electrical lines sucking up power.
Yeah. So, well, that's actually done by the electron beams, the electron lasers.
Yeah, like electrodes sticking out.
Yeah. What they do is they took the from the fizzer, what's his name, that one guy who created television tube, Farnsworth. He took the Farnsworth electrostatic fusion. That needs to be in the center, but it needs to be tuned. A lot of people don't realize that, and it needs to be redone. And the one guy, I remember his handles, Drive 49, but the heck's his name? He created a book where he talked about, oh my God, Paul. I know his name's Paul, but I can't remember his last name. It starts with S, but I can't remember his last name right now. Oh my God. He's been in the chat in APEC too. And he wrote a book with T.T. Brown's wife on how Thomas Townsend Brown was a spy back in the day, how, how his lab notes were like his lab notes, and they weren't really made to confuse the people to not find Thomas Townsend Brown's secrets, because he was a counterintelligence agent. Right? Like, how do you learn from a counterintelligence agent? You really can't.
Well, he just recreated his experiments to find out what he did.
That's why you go through his lab notes, because in the articles, he talks about certain things, but he says, oh, certain things got classified. But if you go through his lab notes, you actually find out what was classified.
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now. So hold on. I always look at the NASA guy to see what he's doing and how much force he's getting on his scale, right?
Yeah.
You know that he's using most of that energy before it becomes force. He's not in the right state at all when it comes to his energy. What do you say? 1.4 millinewtons, which is what? Takes 4,800 something millinewtons in order to make 1 pound, which means he's getting less than grams of force on the scale.
Yeah. If you want to move stuff around, you're going to have to create a vacuum. Because what happens with a vacuum, like I've explained to people, a lot of people don't realize, is that a vacuum will allow Bremsstrahlung radiation, which allows positron and electron separation and recombining, which creates positronium and the force.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is he has no idea what the right material is. It takes him forever to saturate it. And when he goes to saturate it, then he's not getting enough force because it's not saturating fast enough. And then he's not able to multiply that force because he's not saturating the right thing and doing it correctly. And he's in the wrong state. He's in plasma, which he shouldn't be in plasma. He should be in scalar in order to make the pure charge on it.
Very true. And a lot of people don't realize either, like, so since you're explaining saturation, the best saturation transformer I ever seen, only because I actually saw the actual pictures from Stanley Meyer's family Like they gave them they allowed people to go in and take pictures of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And his voltage intensifying transformer, it was only one layer of laminated transformer, one thin sheet.
Yeah.
That was it.
Interesting.
And not only that, it had a break in it. So it had a break just before the resonant coils.
Okay,
so like
you remember?
it have the input, then it would have a break, then it had the resonance coil. So like, the flux would take form in there. But what would happen was, it had the resonance, goes to a capacitor, then the other part goes back to the resonant coil that attaches back to the transformer. Then it has a diode so that it's bouncing the energy back and forth from the break in the flux to the diode. So it's bouncing back and forth. Kind of like Tesla did, but he did it with a closed loop system. And then, and of course it continues around. But what happened there was he explained that it was converting the amps into voltage at a hyperbolic curve. So he was able to separate his hydrogen and oxygen with a 9-volt battery. And not only that, he was able to do it at ridiculous amounts, because what he found out was as soon as you add amps to the system, it impedes the work of the electrical system.
That's right.
So what happened was when he was able to, he also called it this, because this is like from his 1989 interviews where he was inside someone's basement, and he also did one in New Zealand at an actual conference. There's 2 of them, and he fills in the gaps with the both of them. So like you have to watch both of them in order to get it. And he explains how in his electrical particle accelerator, he would run the argon through the hydrogen gas gun. And the hydrogen gas gun was a triode system, just like Ken Shoulders. So Ken Shoulders had a system where he had a positive, a negative electrode, and in the center he had a ground. And depending on if the ground was positive or negative, he would have either white holes or black holes. EVO discharges.
Gotcha.
And,
well, hold on. Before you go too far, I just want to get back to the thing with the NASA guy. Okay, it's these missing mesh. He instead uses something that a little ball is connected together like styrofoam, right? But that's not a proper mesh. In order to get it to work right, you need a mesh. And remember the Asian lady who did the anti-gravity stuff? She was talking about negative energy on mesh. And that's exactly what you need. And you need to compound it with the radius of it that works to amplify it. So then in between it, you're creating capacitor plates that have a high K value. So you get the energy that goes between them, but you do not get it to spark over. Therefore, you can compound that actual charge amount. That's what T.T. Brown was doing. It's mesh. That's the key.
So do you remember when I told you about the giant flying saucer? And when it swooped up at a 45-degree angle, the entire light filled with a grid?
Yeah.
Okay. So the lines of the grid were teal and navy, royal blue. Okay. So the squares, so this is the fascinating part. So the lines you could see there was lines going in one direction. There were the one color. So like let's say upward was teal and sideways was blue. And it created a checkerboard pattern of this. I mean, this field was huge. It looked like it filled the sky, but when it comes to fields, really, like it can encompass a huge amount of area.
Yeah.
Right. So what I think was happening was that the plates were gridded. like you're explaining, like a dipole field antenna.
Yeah.
Right, because like they're gridded like that, right? Like that's and I believe that they did something similar to this, right? Because like if you look here, kind of has a similar effect, right? Like you know what I mean, like, but it was kind of in it was in a circuit similar to what would you call it? Parallel and series, where they're connected together in a grid. So like, you know, like when you have a battery and you hook them up in parallel and series properly, any ion gained, or sorry, any ion lost is gained. Any electron lost is gained. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like it perfectly recycles the energy. So I believe that's how that field antenna worked. But anyways, yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Oh, this is really neat. Jeez. Ion rockets. Fascinating. Okay. Anyways, so yeah. That's one of my favorite ones. As you can see, like he did it with the idea was to do with planes first.
Didn't they pull that off on the stealth fighter, stealth bomber, or something like that? Where
no, the stealth bomber was definitely different. That was a lot more like T.T. Brown, but it was also like it was creating helium so that the craft, no matter what, like as a byproduct, it was creating helium so that the exhaust wouldn't make any noise. Because I don't know if you ever watched. Actually, there's a lot of guys on this drive that are YouTube guys. Like it's unbelievable. Like Plasma Channel's on here. Think Ideas, I believe that's the guy. He's on here. Hacksmith is on here. I tried to get Electro Boom on here, but he wouldn't do it. Who else was on here that's definitely used it because he stated from it and actually shown pictures from it. Who else was that? Well, the Plasma Channel guy definitely, Jason definitely used this. I don't know if he still does because what happened was actually when Apex shut down for a bit, someone deleted the drive.
Really?
Yeah, and the worst part about that is that everything that everyone uploaded was deleted. So I was able to bring everything back except for the stuff that people uploaded.
Really?
Which is a ball kicker. Oh yeah. It was a ball kicker. And
so
I was
an
like,
infiltration agent from APEC.
Not only that, someone went through it and deleted a lot of the stuff. Like, okay, here's actually one big thing that I told Jeremiah and it got deleted right away. So I'm going to actually show that to you. So you can't delete it. All right. Anyways, Tesla, where are you, Tess? There you are. One wire patents. So these were all deleted. Let's see which one I want. Not that one. Not that one. Was it this one? No, not that one. So these are all one wire circuits for. Okay. I'll share this just before I share the other one. Microfab Van de Graafs. Microfabricated Van de Graaf generators. Okay. Van de Graaf generators from one person's perspective that shared it. And I do believe the guy because he shows all the different examples of levitation in videos from like the early, I would say actually no, from the late 20th century, the 1990s. I believe that's when he did the videos, or maybe it could have been the early 2000s. But he's from Australia and he released patents, but he claimed that from the spark gap Tesla coils gave off gamma emissions. And he claimed also that Van de Graaff generators to the ground, that energy that goes all the way to the ground, is gamma radiation.
Really?
And if you go through what I showed you before on the G engines,
Okay.
and a little tidbit, the guy called them Y rays, which are gamma rays. So I think the big secret is gamma rays. And if you actually go to what was that Boeing senior engineer, the one that David Cerrito interviewed,
I have no
Boyd
idea.
Bushman. Boyd Bushman shows that he has a jet with a bunch of Van de Graaff generators along the skin of the craft to create that go to the like what look like missiles on the side of the wings, these points, and they create a Van de Graaff generator energy that goes all the way to the ground of it, right? To the negative, in a sense. And what happened is that I'm assuming he realized that gamma rays is a trick. So by putting Van de Graaff generators all along the skin of the jet or in certain spots, it would create that gamma rays from that point to the ground. So it's a field around the craft.
Okay.
So I believe with this, you could probably be able to make tiny ones, like little lifters. Because it's electrostatics, right? Because magnetohydrodynamics is, I don't know if you understand this, but magnetohydrodynamics, the bigger it is, the more you can do with it.
Yeah.
So, like, the bigger the craft is, the easier it is, the more efficient it is. But when you get down to small stuff, you can make small magnetic motors with. But when it comes to electrostatics like this, if you could create microfabricated Van de Graaffs and you align them all along the skin of the craft and then have grounds out the side, where they're positive or negative grounds, depending on what you're looking for, which is easy as putting a diode on the ground and flipping it for whatever you want, because that's what they did in the tractors. So long in Europe, the ground is positive because they put a diode in it and make it a positive ground. A lot of people don't realize that. In the United States, it's always a negative ground. Little food for thought. But anyways, so here it is. Here, a little, micro generator, little micro Van de Graaff generators. And that also, like I said, the gamma rays is part of it. Okay, let's go to the stuff before I squirrel myself right out here. Was it this one? This is it. Okay. All right. Here it is. So here's the high voltage input. This is a computer, high voltage input computer.
Okay.
It goes in, and the diodes make it circulate. Right? And it goes back to the ground, which is that AC input. Well, this right here, if you're talking about a field antenna, if these were moles, like moles of atmosphere that were affected and ionized by the field antenna, they would take on a resistance because resistance would come with the field antenna effect. That'd be a Schwinger limit.
Yeah. It doesn't have to. How do I want to say this? That right there, if you turned it where the resistor was at the top, how do I say this? It's like the gravity flare, right? It goes up, it goes into the center plate, it hits the a resistor can also cause oscillation in what you're doing if you're going from positive to negative. Okay. So you do that, and then the gravity flare being on the ground acts as the second ground until it releases from the ground. Then you go over to a one ground system. So it takes the double ground in the beginning in order to build the field enough to get anywhere. If you do not do that, you'll never build the field.
I believe that Nicola's Tesla, when he was trying to create his craft, I believe that he turned the craft and created a vacuum around it, which turned it into a light bulb, and that the Schwinger limit was taking place as a byproduct of the moles of the atmosphere.
Oh my God, it's so funny that you mentioned that. The guy that I work with the high voltage on said the same thing.
Well, dude, this is what's showing me.
That's all light bulb.
Well, you know what?
Been.
Yeah, and you know what? Like because they're flying light, but it's all about the field antenna and the circuits pumping it, right? Because it's going to take on that analog. No matter what, it will take on the analog. So when it's a closed loop, it'll hit you, drive down into the ground and back in through the ground and back into the ground of the generator. Whereas this, it would bounce, you'd act as capacitance, and it would bounce back into the generator and into the ground.
Well, the ground creates capacitance for all of it. So if you don't have it in the ground, you're wasting your time.
Well, do you remember what I was telling you about how Eric Dollard said that the sun is a transformer and the planets were capacitors or transducers?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's only one other way of conducting ions is sound. So if we're a giant standing sound wave between the ionosphere and the ground, that's what we are.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that double grounding takes the amplification up fast, and you have trouble inside of a house because of the concrete and everything on it, and the outside is 10 times better for double grounding when you're in that type of a system. So you could run 2 Tesla coils like that. And the cool thing is after it rains. So put the Tesla coils in the ground when it rains. After it rains, you have the saturation of the earth underneath. Now you're getting some real amplification.
Okay, well, let's look at Feynman. Feynman teaches us. Let's quickly skim through here. So Feynman teaches us, this is really important, okay, that every meter you go up, you gain 100 volts per meter. Because you're a conductor and you're full of conductors, you stay conducted to the ground, and the voltage just kind of floats above you.
Right.
Right. If you're full of dielectrics, you would absorb it. So here's another thing too, where he shows the ground plate. As long as it's touching the ground, the space charge will just float above it. But if you have a ground here and a ground above it, there's no charge. I thought that was fascinating. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, because it actually explains why a lot of electrostatic levitators don't want to get the heck off the ground.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of the tricks around this, like if you look at Lake Mirabau's craft, is that he had this piece that would go in the bottom of the this piece in the center, he would have so that it would levitate the disc off the ground. But when he got enough electrostatic charge, he would then use the unwrapped linear motor of the craft to pull the bottom piece back up into the craft.
Well, just remember what I told you earlier about the lifter, okay? You could create a lifter with a positive on the top, and you can use earth ground as the negative on the bottom, and it lifts, okay? You can use the earth itself as part of your circuit to get it to lift initially.
Yeah, but that's the trick. Remember I was showing the beaming energy from the ground to the ionosphere?
Mm-hmm.
You could ride it as a circuit. It just ride it right up, just like a space elevator.
Well, I'm just saying, for the ground effect, to get it off the ground, you have to use the ground. That's the difference. And that's why it'll come off the ground versus staying on the ground and suck to the ground.
I will actually show you, because I'm going to skim through here real quick. So here he's showing you how space charge works. I'm going to show you the space charge patent it was the first cloud seeding patent using steam and charged particles. But this is actually how they figured this out. The U.S. Department of Commerce and Weather Bureau. because they worked with the guy who made that patent. And not only that, the patent was made. So the first patent for cloud seeding was made by Edward Teller after he dropped the bombs. I don't know if it's because nucleogenic particles were no longer being made, so they had to cloud seed in order to artificially make nucleogenics, or I don't know, because like, why would Edward Teller do it?
I don't know.
If
Interesting.
he'd do it if he effed up. You know what I mean? Like, he would make a system like that because he's like, oh no, the world's not going to get rain anymore.
Yeah.
Be a giant cloud in the sky. No one's going to get light. What am I going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Edward Teller then would be like focused. Oh, I'm going to cloud seed.
Well,
make nucleogenics happen.
You know, the big hangars and stuff they had for airships would actually have clouds inside.
Well, yeah, because the space charge. I'll show you that exactly in a minute here. Actually, I'll do it right now. Because I showed it with the. Okay, so let's go back to electrostatic propulsion and EHD folder because it's a better one. Okay, so this is called the electrostatic space charge linear motor and spacecraft armature. So the spacecraft itself is the armature, and it's creating electrostatic space charge linear motor system out of that armature. Okay, so let's go to the first one. Here we are. So here he is showing, this one's not by Edward Teller, this is later, 1958 or 56. But this is like pretty much every single cloud seeding patent is based off this one guy. You'll notice that actually almost every single patent reference this guy. So he's showing you how to make steam and do this. So let's get to the, is this it? What the heck? Oh, that's the next one, right? Next one actually shows it proper. There we go. Okay. So this is how clouds work. This is how clouds chase each other and move in one direction. One cloud is positively charged, one cloud's negatively charged, one cloud's positively charged, etc. And you see here, there's charges being laid. You know, right? It's keeping itself in the air. It's not, the clouds aren't dropping. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's scroll down. So here we go. So you see us distributing charges. Now it's laying the charges on the ground as it's going, right? Because think about it. Rainfall is these charged particulates of electrostatic charge hitting the ground and charging the ground. So it doesn't, depending on the clouds even, could determine if the ground is actually positive or negatively charged. Will mind boggle for you?
Yeah, it's just so funny that everything comes down to the charge pattern you put into something.
It's all to do with electrostatic friction in motion. Yeah. So, like, I've explained this to a lot of people before. So EVOs are, they call them, what do they call it? Cavitation bubbles. But in the cavitation bubble, you see a vortex in the center and convection, right?
Yeah.
So all plasma follows convection. All of it. No matter what, it will follow convection. So this plasma in motion is going to drag the ions with it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, ions and electrons are in motion in a little circular bubble.
Yeah.
That's creating a lot of electricity. Now, put that in motion and then put a collector, like a generator, like say a magnetohydrodynamic generator and electrohydrodynamic generator hybrid put together. And you fired that through it. What would happen is that the velocity of the bubble, all that energy, plus the motion it's in, will be dumped as electricity into the system. So this is where all the excess energy is coming from. convection. Convection is creating toroidal motion. Convection is creating everything.
That's so funny. That
Right? It all comes down
I
to
see it all the time.
See, the motion of the galaxy through the universe creates the perfect way to create fusion because that motion's already in motion from the macroscopic to the microscopic.
Yeah,
that
but
big motion is now we're in that field antenna's grasp, and we're being manipulated by this field antenna, which is the galaxy, its motion. So you see where the hourglass is, and then you see the inertial disk at the very center, where all inertia is, all gravity is.
yeah, so I was just gonna say the convection will make the outside hot while the inside is cool. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, it's a differential, right? Because you have to have a differential in order to create force, but you have to have that vacuum, which that little vortex in that bubble is creating in order to create light or Bremsstrahlung radiation.
It's gonna craft great field spin too.
Not only that, the fascinating thing is that because the Earth is a capacitor, it's a unique capacitor. Because and the unique is that. So I learned this from David Sarita and his stuff, that every single planet, every single star has its own unique shape and size.
That's right.
So what you do is, if you were to use force resonance, you would point to the planet visually with the light, dump it into your sensor, and then I would use a sideward radiation. Like if you could have a galactic crystal, you'd be laughing. But I mean, like the only crystals we have on Earth that deal with sideward radiation, as I told you before, was basalt and granite. But regardless, you like I will show you exactly how Thomas Townsend Brown's battery that he made out of a cement system using that as aggregates and stuff. But I'll have to show you that later. But so darn, I'm starting to get a brain fart. Okay, so the Bremsstrahlung radiation, the sideward radiation, we were getting to, what were we talking about just before that? Sorry, I scrolled myself.
We were on electrostatics right here with the clouds.
Anyways, we're talking about this. All right, so anyways, the space charge here. I'll just get to the craft stuff because that's more exciting. So we're going to get to Angel's patents. I'll be going over this with Jeremy because Jeremy hasn't seen this yet. This is it.
All right, everybody. It's past my bedtime, so I'm going to get going. I appreciate everything from everybody. Thank you, Terran. Thank you, Crypto. Thank you, Nathan. I really appreciate everything from Gerald as well. And I did some updates to the Apple coil. As you can see, before I leave, I wanted to show you guys. I added a potentiometer and a capacitor.
Right on.
You can tell I'm starting to get tired, so I'm gonna.
Yes. Sorry, bro. I didn't mean to steal a show on you.
No. I get tired around this time, simply because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night to begin with. But usually I could go a couple more hours. But yeah, well, I'm starting to.
I'll see if I can get when I do this with Jeremy and stuff and Nate. I'll see if I can get you on there too, because I'll be going through BurnEye. So.
Absolutely. I was just talking with Jeremy right now. He just ended his stream there, and I was telling him how also simultaneously doing this stream that you were holding back a whole bunch of stuff to do with him. So we got
oh, dude, if it wasn't for him, man, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for him, I would not be here.
BurnEye's over there rubbing it in.
Right? Like that's how I met you. That's how we got APEC. Jeremy's awesome.
Oh yeah, Jeremy did it, man. Jeremy, seriously, I like I said, I would be a permaculture. I'd probably be on a farm right now if it wasn't for that guy. Instead, I'm in my mother's basement. But anyways,
All right, guys. Have a good night. I appreciate it.
All right, Ben. Have a great night.
Oh, man.
Yeah, take care, Brad.
Thanks,
So
Victor.
this guy named
You did
Angels,
well,
he's from Germany. He did this flying body stuff. It was through electrostatics, and I believe he might have been a Nazi. I'm not too sure, but he explains here how this works. So obviously the ground's negative, positive charge vehicle. I don't know exactly how this is working because you would think you'd be attracted to the ground. Okay, this isn't the best one. Let's go to the next one. That's his first one. So yeah, obviously these were made in Germany and in Britain because he patented them in both. I think because he might have been picked up by the Brits when the war ended. So he shows here how his craft is negative, the ground's positive and negative, and of course the atmosphere is negative. And he's spraying out through his electron or proton gun charge. And you see here too how he's showing how this is done. He has better ones later, but this is fascinating because here, if you see in figure 9, this is what Michael Schratt talked about with the one vehicle in United States that radiated this poor lady and her daughter in the 60s, right? That's it right there. But it also used, it also had what was called an ion beam propulsion, which was pretty much like a fancy rocket, but used nitrogen and accelerators. Electrohydrodynamic accelerators and magnetohydrodynamic accelerators. And in order to deaccelerate the craft, they would just activate generators in order to extract the power they needed to use for the craft. So, as you can see, there's a flying saucer shape that we've seen many, many, many times before.
Yeah.
There it is there. Oh, do you want me to show that field propulsion? The field antenna video from 1947?
If you got it.
Oh, darn. Okay, hold on. I have to put my dog outside. She has to go. She's 15, so I have to nurse her outside and stuff. Okay, hold on. Let me go to that first, though. So I was talking about the... Actually, I'll go to this first. Is that it? Oh, okay. Hold on. Well, you know what? You guys talk for a bit. I'll be right back. Hold on. I'll show you a picture quick of Jeremiah's little setup that he showed me years back. Check that out. Ah.
That's cool.
Do you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
The 3 Tesla coils with the plasma wall.
Nice.
Do you notice how it looks like inside the craft?
Yeah.
Or sorry, inside the ball. Looks kind of like an ionized craft. But anyways, yeah. I'll just zip back to just take me off of the video screen and I'll be right back. I gotta put dog out.
Oh. Crypto, you there? I hear somebody yelling in the background. So funny. Yeah, I'll tell you what, right now, if I was out there listening to what we were talking about and you had all these patents, I'd be scared as hell right now because we're definitely on the right track. There's no question about it. So what's his link? Well, I'll let him give it out when he comes back. So yeah, but every single time you turn around and look at it, the statics and everything, and I think it's more of a scalar than a static, but it's all about that energy flip. And it's all about building it in the ground and how the ground works, and you have to repulse off of it but build energy from it. So absolutely fascinating stuff. Crypto's getting on cloud 9, maybe. Oh, I don't want to sell anything. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not in it for that. Let's just I just wanted to get out there what we're doing. Yep. Every single one of them has the same point over and over and over again. If you guys didn't notice that, I love patterns, and there's definitely a definite pattern here. It's not changing. So everything's about the charge, and if you're over there creating plasma, you're going to make a nice, thing to clean out some of the stuff in your air, but you're not going to do a whole lot better than that. You got a V stone today, a TV stone today? What? I got some TV stone today. It's like the coolest stone I've ever seen. I've never seen that. Oh, man. It's late. What time is it? Oh, man. Usually in bed by now, man. I'll tell you what, there's a reason they put that Tesla car on the ground. Yeah, I do, actually. When you make your coils, depending on if you put coils on the outside of it, you can change directions. That way, if you have the thing in the center, you can change it up and down based on what side you put north and south. You can use things to amplify the field around it in order to move it. Yeah, I have absolutely an understanding of it. And everything is, going out to testing and stuff like that. And that's what we're trying to do here. A lot of the people don't understand the fields. And, that's kind of one of the biggest things on here. You can move something off the ground without the field, but you cannot create anti-gravity without the field. There is a difference. So, yeah, you better know something about the fields. That's why it worries me when scientists start talking proton neutrons and they don't talk fields. I might have to look that up. TV stone you call it, huh? Yeah, the heat. Oh, man. If people just understood electricity properly, a lot of this would be a lot easier to figure out. So you have to get through the ignorance first just to get there. And a lot of people do not understand heat and conversion of heat to energy. And they think it's all steam and fans. And it's just not. So it's like a cover they can give off. So you always ask, well, why is my power plant creating heat in order to turn a turbine fan, right? Because it's not. They just say that. They're telling you the big lie so that you can suck it down and believe it. What's going on, Crypto?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. My bad. I didn't realize you were putting comments up.
Oh, yeah. It's not a further problem. Yeah, everybody's hanging out in the chat still, man. There's a lot of people here. Man, Terran goes through a lot of stuff quick, man.
Terran's one of the best, and definitely the best Google Drive and overall accumulation of knowledge in one source that's accessible for, well, anyone that's not suspect and gonna delete it, freaking whoever that person was.
Yeah, I have no idea, man.
Someone from APEC, apparently.
I guess. When did they do that?
Like a year and a half ago now, I think.
Yeah.
You still there, Terran?
No, it wasn't me. I wasn't in that
No,
whole group.
John's still there. Like Terran Earthling's still here.
Yeah. I have no idea about that stuff, man. You know what? I stick with my shows. I don't really go on a whole lot of anything else.
Hand of Alchemy, I have not. I'm have to look into that now. And hello, KB. And to your question earlier, no, I had not read that book or paper, but I'm have to look into it. Ah, here it is. This one, William Lyne's Occult Ether Physics. Right, CI APEC deleted it. Yeah, it's like half the people in APEC absolutely amazing, and then it's filled with like spooks and government ops for sure.
Are you guys live right now? Are you guys watching me right now?
Yeah, we're still here.
Live,
okay.
yeah.
So this is no longer published. I don't know if it's copyright. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to show it off because it's copywritten. I'm going to have to find. Let's find something else here. So yeah, space charge, right? So Bernie, remember how I was talking about how space charge works and how that works with electroculture?
Yeah, big time.
So do you remember the Pleiadians that like in the one sweet guy that ended up talking to them? He was claiming that they had these onboard what do they call arboretums?
Yeah.
That's because they had an electroculture set up in there with the craft.
Ooh, that would make perfect sense.
Because it's all space charge. The
Yeah.
proper craft, anyways. So the other cool thing is from the Polarin thing. That I'm just gonna tidbit drop because I have the video on the guy who did the spectrometry and the microscopes. A look at all the metals, and it was made of a heavy metal that what the heck was it called again? It starts with T. It's TH, but it's not tholium. It's the other one. Real heavy one. But anyways, so
thorium.
When I went and looked it up on
Thorium?
Wikipedia, what they use it for is high temperature superconductance and solid state lasers. And what they did, what the Polarans claim they did, was they took, because they work with space charge. They flew over a planet that destroyed itself. The population destroyed itself because I believe we were all seeded on many planets, and we're all unique. So, a certain planet died before us, and
I believe that the asteroid belt.
And when they went there, they said that there was, because of the satellites and everything, there's a bunch of lead in the atmosphere, right? Because uranium transmutes into lead over time, right? So they went in and they claimed that they took it and they oscillated it. So you remember when Bob Greener talked about how they oscillated that one patent from a Russians, they oscillated this material in a closed loop with cavitation and it kept mutating. Well, I think the craft was doing this in space. And what it did was it would transmute the lead into that element that they were talking about through, they said they had to do it a bunch of times in order for it to just finally transmutate into this.
Okay, so they say there's tungsten, titanium, technetium, and tantalum.
It started with TH.
TH is thorium.
Thorium.
No, not thorium. The other one.
Thorium. THORIUM.
No. Hold on.
Not that
one. Hold on.
See, there's no TH. There's TECH.
Oh, what's going on here? I'm not typing. There it is. Well, where's it? periodic. There.
I think thorium. You guys talking about gases?
No, it's a metal. Hold on,
Thorium?
it's
I don't know.
is it TA? Hold on, I think it might be TA. Hold on, what was it?
TANTALUM.
Was it
TANTALUM.
tantalum?
Yeah.
No, not tantalum. No.
Nope.
Hold on, I have the video, so I'm just gonna have to. I don't have it on this computer, that's why I can't just call it up. Who did I send it to? I know I sent it to Jeremy. I don't want to go on.
Not thallium and not thorium.
Darn. Okay, so
TH was number 90.
what's number 90? You said
Yeah. Down on the bottom. Is it one of those?
on the bottom. That's it. So what is that? Let me. God damn it! How come it won't do it? Oh, it's because I'm in the partial one. Whatever. Okay. Short summary. That's not good.
Tellurium?
Yeah, that's it. Hold on. Where's do you have it on Wikipedia?
Yeah.
Because on Wikipedia it tells you right there that it was used for high temperature superconductors and solid state lasers, and that's what the military uses it for. And you never hear about it. This element, ever hear about it? Like I've mentioned it to people, and they're like, "What?" It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't know anything about it. Okay, so anyways, here, number 90. Where are you? 90. Not thorium. Fuck. Okay. Is it tiberium? Oh my god. Starts with a T, I know that for sure. It has to be that. What else would it be?
Currently, it sounds like unatamium.
Yeah, it did, dude. Seriously, when I read it, I was like, no. And not only that, like the guy on the show was talking about it. Oh shoot.
TH number 90 is thorium.
Yeah, I'm not no, that's on it. I have the video and hold on. Who had it? Was that UFO show? YouTube. So this ufologist guy, he talks about all the UFO stuff, and it's always in black and white, even though it was in color at one time. So he can copyright it, I'm assuming, or just allowed to use the copyrighted material. He posted it in black and white, but it was in color. I
can't remember the name. Tungsten or something like that.
It's to do with the Swede guy. Remember the guy from Sweden that lost his arm, and the Polarans went and visited him in the 70s. Billy Meyer.
And it's not titanium or tungsten, right?
I think it's the Billy Meyer guy. Yeah, the one that was geez, everyone talks about him.
I have no idea who that is.
Anyways, forget that. Let's go back to the drive, because there's just so much more in here that I have to talk about before that. Yeah, like I got all the I love it. I have a bunch of material science for Jeremy, so he can like that. There's a bunch of stuff I have to talk to him about and figure out as well, which it'll be exciting. Bassard, by the way, someone has to talk to oh Jesus. Sorry, my brain's going right now. It's getting close to the end of the night.
No worries, brother. We can.
What the heck's his name? Tim Ventura. Someone needs to talk to Tim Ventura about getting a hold of Bassard again, because he had an interview with Bassard.
Okay.
And Bassard said he was releasing a patent on a method of creating electrostatic fusion without any losses.
Really?
And
do you know what Apex that was, or which Tim interviews that was?
Yeah, the last person to do an interview with him was Tim Ventura. You know, the guy who created everyone based the Bassard collector off of for Star Trek, like legitimately, Robert Bassard. Like, but that was all based off of Farnsworth, the guy who created the electron gun for television. Before RC stole it from him.
So that's why Simpsons made their nerd's name Farnsworth.
Yeah, this is a Bassard, Robert Bassard. Bassard collector, right? Electroconfinement fusion. Let's see here. I just want to click on anything that's copywritten. That's why I'm like antsy. I have to have you guys one night, and then we can go through everything and then like run it through a history thing. Because I'd rather do it through history because it all lines up with each other. And if we go in depth, like actually sit there and concentrate on each inventor at that time, heck, it would make a great show. Because
well, my Sundays are always available.
Society. Sorry?
I said my Sundays are always available. You can come on all day if you want.
Well, I think we should. It depends on my other predicaments, but yeah, okay. Electrostatic cooling. One of my favorites. Okay, so this is not the one with the where's electrostatic cooling right here? I have to put it all back in the one folder because I didn't realize it was all his son. So there's a father and son that does this. They teach about electrostatic heating and cooling stuff by Blomgren. That's the wrong guy. This is the one I'm looking for. So OC Blomgren, senior and junior. So here's he's able to contain heat inside a cylinder, right? And control the heat of the device. Just through sheer electrostatics.
Yeah, Gerald can do that.
Well, this is, in essence, it's almost a triode effect. This is between white hole and black hole now. Yeah, all there is no cavitation right now. It's a lot of potential for cavitation, but
yeah.
Maybe the flame has cavitates. Depends if it's using cavitation fluid. So another thing, I have the patent for Jeremy got it, and I'm not going to share it because he said he wasn't ready to share it, but I was just going to show it off anyways. But it was teaching. It's pretty much the Pantone device, but the Thunderbolt one, the actual patent for it.
Okay.
By Bedini.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I was going to show that one off, but what he called it was coherent fuels, like coherent matter.
Coherent matter is what it's all about.
No, but that's the thing. So the whole device is designed to create a coherent matter. Well, coherent fuel that is then detonated into a plasma flame.
Oh, I see what you're saying with this. Okay.
Right? So the whole trick is cavitation. You create the cavitation bubbles. So a lot of the guys, the best guys so far, which Murray King talked about, was who explained how plasma, these EVOs are ionic sound crystals, right? acoustic crystals because we're in a standing sound wave being conducted into our shit. So this cavitation is giving off like how do I explain this?
It turns
So anyways,
water like a crystal.
Because we're cavitating, we have cavitation bubbles within us. We're and stuff like that, and they're taking on the convection. We're capable of being coherent, right? So like these fuels are working in a similar manner where they're like creating this convection current, and not only that, like if you look at Pantone's device, you know where there's a cusp on his rod, and there's a cusp on the bottom, or sorry, on the top of it, but it's on the bottom in Australia, and that bowl creates convection. So it creates that vortex ring that you see once it pops up above there. And then that vortex ring allows the cavitated ions to cluster into it and create a microscopic, macroscopic, synchronistic, coherent vortex ring, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, because like in Pantone, he explained with his glass reactor that if you had, like, if you looked at it, you saw the ball of lightning in it, and it was a vortex ring inside the cusp.
I don't know if I've ever seen one of Paul Pantone's Geet reactors, actually, the video of it working.
Oh, you ever seen the glass one? He shows it in his book. He shows it in his book. There's a picture of it. And not only that, like in the Pantone device, he puts an amp meter on one end and on the other end of the tube there. And because he put in 12 volts, was it 12 volts? I think it was 12 volts, 15 amps. I'm not too sure. But anyways, he put that in and he ended up getting 120 volts and like 200 amps coming out of it on the other end. So like if you ever seen like fuel cells, right? Fuel cell technology using ammonium crackers and other types of metals that break apart the ammonia into hydrogen and oxygen, and they send it through a fuel cell and collect the electricity from it. This could be done with that.
That's fascinating.
Because you could literally pump those amps because the amps are trapped within the convection of the molecules, and if you could vent them off and burn some off, though, because you have to burn some off and recycle them in order to make the fuel burn at the same temperature as methane. You have to have steam.
Okay, I see what you're saying with that, and that's kind of
like
how...
that. Like how, yeah, that's how Stanley Meyer did it. Yeah. But anyways, that's the trick behind the coherence, is that bubbler, and then the one guy, Eric, I think it was Jenkins. I think that's his name. Anyways, he created this where he put a pond fogger in water to create the cavitation.
Yeah,
and he said make a little bit of gas, mix a little bit of gas with it or an oil, because what would happen is the oil would go around the convection bubble, right? Because it wants to sit on top of the water, and then what happens is when it ignites, when it's electrostatically charged and ignites, it creates plasma, which then ignites the water, like separates and ignites the water at the same time. That's how he got his patent to go through, because he did it without it and they wouldn't take it. So he said, mix a little bit of gasoline in it.
Jeez.
But anyways, that's the trick between coherent fuels.
That's huge, and that's what we gotta make. That's what we gotta start experimenting with right there.
Yeah, actually, Old Man Bills, if you want, just hop on the drive for a bit and skim through some of the stuff, because my dog's acting weird. I gotta go put her out again, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no worries. I gotta get going here too and just grab eat dinner and stuff. So let's plan do the full one, I'll talk to Jeremy here. We'll just do a group email or something and set it up.
Yeah, I got to play by ear, but yeah, we'll definitely try to make it happen.
Sounds good, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I sent you an email explaining some stuff, and yeah, just
awesome.
I'm sure you understand.
For sure.
Right on.
Much love.
All right, guys, we're all signing off for the night.